All right, let's jump into a deep dive today into the core of the Spanish language, the verb haber.
Oh, good one.
It is. We're going to be using a Spanish language lesson as our source material.
Okay.
And, it's amazing how much we can learn about language just by picking apart this one little verb.
Yeah, absolutely. Like even if you don't speak Spanish, this deep dive can offer some insights into how languages work in general and how they reflect our thinking.
Yeah, and this particular lesson kicks off with the most basic use of haber, which is to express location.
Right.
Kind of like there is or there are in English.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, they give us the phrase, hay un niño rubio en el parque. There is a blonde kid in the park.
Okay.
And that actually highlights something pretty interesting about this use of haber.
Okay.
You can only use the indefinite article un, a. You can't say el niño. You can't say the kid in this construction.
Right. That's interesting. It might have something to do with the idea and introducing something new into the scene.
Oh.
When we say there is a something,
Yeah.
we're presenting new information. We're
Yeah.
not talking about a specific thing that's already been established.
Like, hey, look, there's a blonde kid in the park, but we don't know anything about him yet.
Exactly. Yeah.
Interesting.
And that seems like a pretty universal concept, right? Like introducing something new versus talking about something known.
Right.
Yeah, different languages might mark this distinction in different ways.
Sure.
But it's fundamental to how we communicate.
Okay. But then haber doesn't just stop there.
Right.
It's got this fascinating impersonal use where it expresses actions that need to be done, but without a specific actor.
Uh-huh.
So they give us an example. Hay que comprar comida, ya no queda. Which means one must buy food. There's none left.
Yes.
Like this obligation is just floating out there in the universe.
I love that observation, this impersonal heike. I think it reveals a lot about Spanish culture and how it views responsibility.
Okay.
Instead of saying, you need to do this,
Yeah.
pointing fingers, it creates a sense of collective obligation.
So instead of putting it on one person, it's more like a shared understanding. Like it needs to be done for everyone.
Exactly. And you can see how that might shape social interactions, even influence how people approach problem solving, right?
It's amazing how much meaning can be packed into just a little grammatical structure.
It is, yeah.
Now, the lesson also compares heike to tener que,
Okay.
which also means to have to, but it always has a specific subject.
Right. That's an important distinction.
Yeah.
Tener que is much more direct. It's assigning responsibility. AK, the responsibility is diffused. It's almost like an unspoken rule.
Wow, so much nuance. I'm really starting to see why haber is considered like a powerhouse verb in Spanish.
Absolutely. And we're just scratching the surface. What's even more fascinating is how this impersonal use carries over into different tenses.
Oh, so you mean like you can talk about obligations in the past
Exactly.
or in the future?
Yeah, so the lesson walks us through some of the forms. You got hey for the present, and then hubo and había for the past.
Oh, wait. 2 different past tenses? I smell another deep dive coming.
Oh, yeah, definitely. There's a whole world of complexity within those.
Oh, boy.
But just for now, let's just appreciate how HABER allows us to express these impersonal obligations
Okay.
across different points in time. And then there's the future tense, habra.
So it's like no matter when we're talking about.
Yeah.
Now, the past, or in the future, that idea of impersonal obligation, of something that needs to be done, it just remains a constant. That's pretty profound.
It really is. And it speaks to the enduring nature of certain human experiences, regardless of time period. But here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay, I'm on the edge of my seat.
The lesson points out if you just conjugate HABER all by itself, it doesn't really have much meaning. It's like this puzzle piece that's waiting for its other half.
So what is the missing piece? What brings haber to life?
A past participle.
Ooh.
And this, my friend, is where we enter the realm of the present perfect tense.
Oh, things are about to get grammatical. Okay, let's do it.
And we're back, still diving deep into this verb haber.
Oh, yeah, I'm ready for more. So before we take a little pause there, you were saying that haber kind of doesn't mean much on its own.
Right.
But when you add a past participle, things get interesting.
Exactly. It's like haber acts as a bridge, It connects the simple existence of something to the completion of an action.
I see what you mean. Can you, unpack that a bit more?
So think about the examples we've already covered.
Right.
We started with location, hay un niño en el parque, just stating that a child exists, in the park. Then we moved to the impersonal hay que, which implies an action needs to happen. Hay que comprar comida. But then we arrive at the present perfect, where haber is paired up with a past participle to confirm an action has been completed. So, yo he comido, I have eaten.
Oh, so it's like taking us on a journey from the potential of something to happen to the obligation or necessity of it happening to like the confirmation that it has indeed happened.
Precisely. And what's really fascinating is that this progression, this going from being to doing, from potential to realization, it's something that many languages grapple with.
Huh. You mean like other languages might have their own versions of harbor,
Exactly.
like verbs that kind of wear a lot of hats and connect these different facets of existence and action?
Yeah, exactly. It might not be as multifaceted as haber, but even in English, we see this with to be and to have, right?
Oh.
Playing these key roles in how we express like the existence of things and then the completion of actions.
That makes me think about those basic to be verbs we all learned in school, like am, is, are, was, were.
Right.
They seem so simple, but maybe they're actually laying the foundation for like some really complex ideas.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. It's often the simplest words that carry the deepest meanings.
Mm.
And by comparing how these verbs work across different languages,
Mm-hmm.
We can get a deeper understanding of the variety and ingenuity of human language.
Man, this deep dive has been so much more than I expected.
Yeah. We started with Spanish grammar, and we somehow ended up exploring like these core concepts of existence and obligation and the completion of actions.
Yeah.
It's like we've stumbled onto a secret code for understanding how humans think and communicate.
And the best part is, we're not done yet.
Right.
This Spanish lesson has even more to reveal about the amazing versatility of HABER.
Okay, I'm all ears. Hit me. Back for more HABER.
This has been fun, although a little sad that this is the last part. I'm ready for whatever HABER has to throw at us.
Well, there's still a bit more to unpack, actually. So remember how we were talking about HABER kind of bridging that gap between like existence and action?
Yeah.
Well, the lesson highlights this other fascinating aspect, which is its ability to kind of subtly shift its meaning depending on the context.
It's like a chameleon or something, blending in, taking on different shades.
Exactly. So think back to the present perfect tense, yo he comido, I have eaten.
Mm-hmm.
In those cases, HABER is mainly about marking an action as completed, but sometimes it takes on a more nuanced role.
Oh, like how?
So the lesson gives us this example. En la prehistoria, había que salir a cazar para sobrevivir. In prehistory, one had to hunt to survive.
Okay.
You see how HABER is still expressing obligation here,
Right.
but it has a slightly different emphasis.
Yeah, it's not just that someone should hunt. It's like they had to in order to, live.
Exactly. It's like this is just how things were. There was no other option.
Huh.
HABER is highlighting the inevitability of the action, not simply the obligation.
So depending on, the words and phrases around it, HABER can express this whole spectrum of meaning.
Yes.
From simple obligation to, absolute necessity.
Exactly. It's these subtle layers of meaning that make HABER such a fascinating verb to study.
Yeah.
And once you understand these nuances, you can unlock a whole other level of fluency and expressiveness in Spanish.
Man, so much depth and complexity in one little verb.
Right.
It's kind of incredible.
It really is.
Yeah.
And I think this deep dive into HABER has shown us something really important about language in general.
Okay, what's that?
That even the most, basic words can hold a universe of meaning.
Mm.
And the more we explore those hidden depths, the more we can discover about how humans think and communicate and make sense of the world around us.
Well said. Well, listeners, that wraps up our exploration of HABER. But I want to leave you with a thought. What seemingly simple words in your own language might hold hidden depths of meaning? What grammatical quirks or subtle shifts in usage have you noticed that maybe reveal something deeper about how we think and communicate? Keep your ears open, your minds engaged, and who knows what fascinating discoveries await you in the world of words. Until next time, happy exploring.